Samantha Tapp. Samantha, or Sam, Tapp's friends, described her as a funny girl who loved to make others laugh. Her sister, Kendale, agreed with this sentiment. In her teen years, Sam loved spending time outdoors, socializing, and going to the local speedway to watch car races. But for Sam, it wasn't all laughter and good times. She and her sister had a troubled home life and had landed in foster care for some time until their foster mother could no longer look after them. Following this, Kendale was sent to live with their grandparents, while Sam was sent to live with an aunt, but was eventually reunited with her sibling when she also moved in with the girl's grandparents in the city of Burleson. Kendale described the pair's relationship as close, noting they were always there for one another and could trust each other, and this is why she finds Sam's disappearance particularly troubling. On October 12, 2004, 16-year-old Sam went to visit Kendale, who had recently moved out with a boyfriend. During the visit, the sisters bickered. One article states that Kendale recalled it was probably something silly, while another report states they fought because Sam was upset that her sister had moved out of their grandparents' home. She then asked to stay with Kendale, who refused and told her to go home. The last time Kendale saw the 16-year-old was around 8 p.m. when Sam stormed out the house, angry and upset. Kendale assumed that Sam just needed to have some time out and blow off some steam, but when she didn't return home to her grandparents that night, the family became worried. The teenager had run away before, but it was usually only for a few hours and at most a day. She never went far and was never gone for long. But this time was different. When several days passed and nobody heard from her, Sam's family reported her missing. Kendale felt it was a waste of time from the start, however, as the Burleson Police Department seemed uninterested in the case. Like many of the missing young people we cover on this channel, Sam's troubled background and history of running away caused investigators to assume she had left voluntarily and that she'd be fine on her own or come home when she felt like it. But Sam never returned. No search was conducted for the 16-year-old, and there was no investigation into her disappearance. Authorities didn't even question friends and family. The case has received very little media coverage and has had barely any updates since 2004. In the week following the teenager's disappearance, her grandparents returned home, accompanied by Kendale, to find unexplained cigarette butts and rearranged furniture in their back garden. Kendale wondered if perhaps Sam had gathered some of her friends there and hung out without them knowing the family was out. They let the police know of this strange occurrence and were told to change their locks. According to one source, on February 17, 2011, Sam's name was run by police in Columbia County, Oregon, but there are no longer any records on file regarding the details of this inquiry. Similarly, the same article states that the name Samantha Tapp was run by U.S. Customs and Border Patrol at the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, around 30 to 40 minutes away from Burleson, on June 20, 2014 at 9:50 p.m. Once again, however, no record of this search still exists. Kendale has noted that at the time of Sam's disappearance, she did not have a passport. Her social security number has also not been used since she went missing. In 2015, Burleson Police Department called in the Texas Attorney General to investigate Sam's disappearance. Months before she vanished, the 16-year-old had taken her aunt's car without permission and had been placed on probation. Since she went missing while still on probation, she was considered a fugitive. The police had hoped that the extra resources brought in by the Attorney General would help locate the missing team, but they had no such luck. No trace of Sam was found. Kendale is still looking for answers to her sister's disappearance. She has collected the case files from the Burleson Police and the Attorney General and hopes that she will discover something which will bring her to Sam. Over the last 18 years, she has kept the same phone number in case her sister ever wanted to call, and has stated that if she could speak to Sam, she would tell her she's not in any trouble and she doesn't have to be afraid of coming home, as there are people who love her. As of May 2022, Sam's fate remains unknown. Samantha Tapp was 16 when she vanished from Burleson, Texas on October 12, 2004. She is described as a white woman with black hair and brown eyes and stands at 5'4". When she was last seen, she weighed 120 pounds. She may use the last name Vandiver and may wear glasses or contact lenses. If she is still alive, she will be 33 years old. Era Johnson. On the evening of April 2nd, 1986, 5-year-old Era Johnson was put to bed by her parents, wearing orange underwear and snuggled up underneath dark orange bedding. She was last seen by her father between 1 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. in her room, in her family's mobile home in the 300 block of Boulder Street in the town of Big Sandy. When Era's parents awoke between 6:30 and 6:45 the following morning, however, they were distraught to find their daughter was gone. The back door to the home was open, and there were no signs of a struggle in Era's room. Her orange bedspread had also been taken, along with the girl herself, and there were no traces of the 5-year-old in or around the home. She hadn't simply walked off. It appeared that somebody had taken her, but nobody had seen or heard anything unusual that night. Not Era's family, nor her neighbors. Law enforcement officers brought scent dogs with them to the scene, but the canines couldn't find the little girl's scent. According to Era's Charlie Project page, her parents, James and Ophelia, took polygraph tests shortly after the disappearance. It also mentions that another man was also asked to take one, and he obliged. However, there does not appear to be any information about who this man is or why he was asked to take the test. Detectives believed that whoever had taken the little girl was aware of the family's habits. In 2007, decades after Era went missing, authorities announced that they believed a serial killer and child rapist named David Elliott Penton was a person of interest in the case. Born in February of 1958, Penton grew up in Columbus, Ohio, and was raised alone by his mother after his father abandoned them. At the age of 17, Penton joined the U.S. Army, where he became a track vehicle mechanic until 1984. That year, while stationed at Fort Hood, he violently shook his own 2-month-old son to death because he wouldn't stop crying. Penton pled guilty to a manslaughter charge. However, while on bail, he went on the run from authorities. He was arrested 3 years later in Ohio, when he took the life of a friend's young niece. Penton has been in prison in Ohio since 1987. While incarcerated, he signed a plea agreement admitting to the murders of 3 young children in Texas after bragging about the crimes to his inmates. 5-year-old Christy Lynn Meeks vanished from her mother's front yard as she played on January 19, 1985. Several months later, Christy's remains were discovered 40 miles away after they surfaced in Lake Texoma. Her cause of death was listed as drowning and strangulation. Penton's next victim was 9-year-old Christy Proctor, who was taken while she walked home in North Dallas in February of 1986. Her body was found in a field 2 years later. She had been sexually assaulted and strangled. 4-year-old Roxanne Ray was snatched while picking wildflowers for her mother near her Garland apartment on November 3, 1987. 1 year later, her body was found in the city of Murphy, Texas. Like Christy Proctor, she had been sexually assaulted and strangled to death. Penton is suspected of being involved in numerous other disappearances of young girls, and he attempted several other abductions throughout the 1980s before his arrest. The victims in those cases identified him as the would-be abductor. So far, as well as Era's case, Penton is believed to have been involved in the cases of 3 other children. Updates in Era's case have been few and far between in the decades since she vanished. In 2011, the Upshur County Sheriff's Office, who is the agency handling her case, discovered remains near Lake O' the Pines, a reservoir in Texas. However, the remains did not belong to the missing 5-year-old. Tragically, Era's family are not strangers to heartbreak. 9 months before their daughter vanished, James and Ophelia Johnson's 6-year-old son drowned in a terrible accident. Following Era's disappearance, the couple divorced. James has since passed away. Era Johnson was just 5 years old when she vanished from her family's residence in the 300 block of Boulder Street in the town of Big Sandy. She is described as a black girl with brown eyes and black hair. At the time of her disappearance, she was 3 feet tall, weighed around 39 pounds, and was missing her front 2 lower teeth. She was wearing orange underwear. Era also had a silver filling in her back right molar and may use the nickname Niecy. If she is alive, she will be 41 years old.